All right, so today is another response video to the same person that I responded to last week. I saw another video by this person that had outrageous claims about the natural community, and I feel like this is my time to kind of step up and put my 2 cents in. Part of the reason why I'm doing this, and I'm going to call it quote unquote dirty work, is because I don't want the bigger channels to have to deal with this. My channel's still small enough, but it has a big enough reach and it's a big enough channel to where I can say what I want and not have to damage my reputation as a channel. And I'm totally fine if this dings my reputation or I get caught up in some drama or whatever, that's fine. I'm going to leave it as an anonymous, non-name dropping video for now because I hate drama. I hate clicking, like clickbait, stuff like that. So these are just things that I don't like being said about the community. So I'm going to give my response, and it's up to you to decide who you agree with. But I do want to make some points to these outrageous claims that are outrageous in my opinion. So just like the last video, I have a few paraphrases written down. Let's get started. So the first claim is that PEDs are a permanent part of fitness culture. So with that, I don't necessarily disagree, and I do agree with that. However, when it comes to saying PEDs are a permanent fixture in the industry, in the fitness culture, there's two ways you can go about that. You can be passive about it, or you can actually be active about it and fight back and build up your own stance to that general trend in the community. So the way I see it is when you have people like this that just accept that PEDs in gear is going to be something that's a permanent fixture in the industry, why just accept it? Especially if you disagree with it. Are you just going to live life passively and let other people make those decisions for you? Who knows that the people that started the trend of using gear have everybody's best interest in mind? Who knows that that's truly the best way to go for most people? Are you just going to be passive and sit back and say, the trend's doing that, so that's what we're all going to follow and just accept? Or are you actually going to stick up for what you truly believe in and speak on that? And I think that's, in a nutshell, what the Noble Natty community actually is. I know for myself, I would hate to just live life that passively. If I was just to follow every trend that pops up on TikTok and follow whatever the community did, I wouldn't actually be an individual. I'd just be a product of what other people want me to do. I'm just a product of my influences, just floating through life, being guided through life by other people's opinions. And behind every trend, there's somebody that starts it. So who's to say the person that started that trend and started that idea is right? What if you were able to start your own trend from your own conclusions and your own opinions and have an impact that way? That's exactly what I'm trying to do with this channel when I fight against these training methods that I don't think work very well. And in something like this, where it's a natural versus enhanced debate, if we're just going to accept that PEDs are the future of the industry, how many people that fall into that trend were just emotionally feeling a little bit weak and vulnerable at the time? It didn't actually agree with that decision. If the tide was to come the other way and being natural was going to be the way to go, how many of those people that were led to take PEDs would still be taking PEDs? I'd argue it's not something that they decided, the industry decided for them. So when the tide shifts the other way, are they just going to hop on board and say, oh, you know what, being natural was the way to go? I'd say yes, because they're just following what the trends do. So fighting against the trends and giving people multiple options is the way to go, because that gives them the freedom to make their own decision based on what they're feeling. Of course, it's not a perfect method, but it's important to have every option laid out for people. And I think that's an example of us having the community's best interest in mind when we make our channels and make our videos and our topics like this. So the next point that he has here is that Noble Natties are trying to be cult leaders, and half the time they're a fake natty. So with this, you can accuse anybody of being a fake natty, but actually pick somebody. Don't just say, oh, most of the Noble Natty community are fake natties, or that person's a fake natty. Let's have some proof. And if you can make a valid case that somebody's a fake natty, I'm happy to accept that. The people that I see in the Noble Natty community that I respect and understand them as a lifter, I'm just going to say it straightforward. As of now, I don't think anybody in this community is a fake natty, to my knowledge of the more prominent channels. Of course, there's going to be people that comment that have anonymous channels or anonymous accounts that we don't know anything about them, so you never know those people. But for the more prominent channels like myself, or even the bigger ones, I'm not convinced at all that anybody's actually a fake natty. So these claims, in my opinion, are a little bit outrageous, and I would love to hear if you actually think that there's somebody that is a fake natty. If you can provide evidence or even make a strong case, it's something I'm willing to consider, because at all costs, I think the most important thing of having a strong natural community is having good natural lifters. So if somebody's a fake natty and using gear and lying and taking advantage of people, that's an issue, and it always has been in the industry. But I think with this current noble natty community, where we've been through these cycles of fake natties and people that are open about gear and whatnot, I think a lot of the people in this community have the experience to be able to draw their own conclusions on natural lifters. And I think that's why the natural community is blowing up and doing well, because these people all had a similar experience in the bodybuilding industry. So my next point here, his point, but my next note. The most vocal natural lifters, for context, the people that are most vocal specifically about being drug-free, are the most likely to be fake naturals. The most accomplished natural lifters don't tell you all the time that they're drug-free. So when it comes to an influencer that has selfish intentions, people that just post pictures themselves on Instagram, don't actually provide value, I would agree with that. I do think with the noble natty community, who, let's be specific with this, he is directly calling out this community, so channels like myself and the other noble natties, my peers on this platform. I don't think when we're community first people, very obviously, I don't even show you guys my physique. I wear a flannel in literally every video, and I show my training every now and then, but that's just to back up my methods. I'm community first. The other channels are community first. We're information-based channels. So that's I think that's a pretty good sign that we're actually community first. We're not these influencers that are just trying to show off this crazy physique, say they're natural, get people to buy their products. That's a pretty simple method to understand, and we all have the resources to be aware of those types of people. And I'm not saying that's not a real thing, because it absolutely is. And the next part of this specific point is that he says the most accomplished natural lifters don't tell you all the time that they're drug-free. And I do have a response to this written down. So in my opinion, this is selfish. PEDs are taking over the fitness community, and they aren't going anywhere, which was your point, not mine. So this reinforces the need to build up the natural community the best we can. Being silent isn't the way to do this. In years past, this has always led to fake natty accusations. If they ignore the topic, they're on gear. I guarantee if the noble natty community never talked about being natural, more people would assume we're on gear and more likely to take it. That's an issue, because we're actively proving how big you can get naturally. The reason why the noble natty community even exists in the first place is because we had to fight back against the channels that were people on gear that talked about how you couldn't really do much naturally. The fact that the natural limit's super low and you hit it in 3 years. So when we talk about being natural, it's to prove to you guys, the rest of the community, we're not trying to brag or show off ourselves. We're trying to show you guys that these guys are lying. They're lying because they were never able to hit their natural limit or get close to being an elite level natural. We're showing you how far you can go naturally. If we didn't talk about that, you guys wouldn't know how high the natural ceiling actually is and what your true potential is as a natural lifter. And I guarantee the vast majority of people would assume that people like myself, Alex Leonidas, Jeffrey Verity Schofield, all these guys, they would think we're on gear, especially someone like Alex Leonidas. I mean, even now people think he's on gear. If we never talked about being natural, if we just ignored the topic entirely, everybody would think that guy's on gear, because nobody would know how good you can actually get naturally. And that's why you have to talk about it. It's not to virtue signal or try and lie or tell people that you can do all this naturally, but I'm on gear so I can get all these followers and sell you guys things. Let's be real here. If we didn't talk about being natural and show you how far you could get naturally, way more people would think these people are on gear, take gear to look like us, and they wouldn't realize that they could have done that entirely drug-free if they were just patient and actually learned how to lift properly, which is the biggest issue in the lifting community when it comes to getting results naturally. That straight up just is, because the people that are on gear, like these fake natties on Instagram that just show off their own physique and try and sell you supplements and whatnot, those are the people that are the problem, because they show all these gimmicky lifts and people think they're natural and they're not getting any results doing that. It's a very simple concept, but I feel the need to explain it because I'm not sure it's quite understood all around here. So the next point that he's got is that this is about a lifter named John Hack, which I think a lot of you guys have heard of. I don't know too much about him since he is involved with powerlifting. So he goes, John Hack is a perfect example of this. He was natural and didn't make a big deal about it, then chose to take gear and didn't make a big deal about that either. So my response to this is not a perfect example because John Hack was never a true natural lifter at heart. Somebody that's actually committed to being a natural lifter will stay natural for their lifetime. The reason John Hack didn't make a big deal about it, and I don't know him personally, so I can't speak in absolutes here, but he knew he was going to go on gear. So why would he make a big deal and talk about how noble he is and how morally superior he is for being natural when he knew he was just going to milk out what he could naturally and then hop on gear? That's not a perfect example. A perfect example would be somebody like if somebody in the noble natural community was to hop on gear and then go back on all those claims. That's a good example, but that hasn't happened yet. So that remains to be seen. And basically what I'm trying to say there is that every enhanced lifter was natural at some point. So you can't just say, oh, he was natural, he never said anything. It doesn't matter if you were natural at the time. You have to stay natural. You have to be a natural lifter. And just being natural at the start doesn't mean you're a natural lifter, especially if you know ahead of time you do plan to actually take illegal PEDs. The next point he has, someone who is truly great at what they do in drug-free lifting almost never makes a big deal about it. They go about their thing and they don't care what others are doing. Exactly. That's a problem. That's selfish. That's very selfish. I'd argue that the people like myself and the rest of the natural community are selfless because we're actually talking about how big you can get naturally and showing it firsthand. And we're not just showing you us, we're teaching you the methods on our channels. That's great. And I love the fact that this is an actual thing now. It's really cool to be a part of. To get to an excellent level naturally and not use that to help other lifters succeed is selfish. You can save lives. You can quite literally save lives. People do die from PEDs. And you can save the quality of lives by showing what you can do naturally. Realistically, a lot of people suffer health complications from taking PEDs. Even look at all the professional bodybuilders that have passed away within the past few years. And these are people with elite genetics, generally speaking, too. These aren't just like people that had pre-existing conditions that just, it was just a one-off. Like it's a regular trend. The amount of people that have health issues, the amount of stuff you see with influencers, they always have some story. Any guy that comes off of steroids that you see on YouTube, just like your regular influencers that do day in the life of eating and training vlogs and whatnot, if any of them ever come off steroids or realistically they just go into TRT instead, it's always for health reasons. Always. That's a big issue. Health should be number one for everybody, in my personal opinion, and that resonates with you. Probably take that message and stick by that. Try and see if that message works for you. Being healthy is pretty cool. I think it's cool, and you can get jacked while being healthy, just doing it naturally. So I would say very selfish to become an elite lifter naturally and then not share it with anybody. And I'm not saying that every elite natural lifter has to have a YouTube channel like I do or talk about all this stuff and teach other people everything for free and whatnot. But at the same time, if none of us did this, we'd be basically showing people, there wouldn't be a community that can actually get to the elite level without being confused about whether we're actually on steroids or not. That's all I'm trying to say there. So another point he has is the overwhelming majority of the time, the most vocal naturals are fake natties. Again, I'd love to hear you call somebody out in particular, because if you're going to imply these certain things, if you can actually make a case, again, I'm very open to this. I don't disagree with you at all in what you're trying to do. It's okay to call people out if you actually have valid evidence or a valid argument, but at the same time, you should be able to make that argument and let people decide if you're right or wrong. What it seems like to me right now is you want people to think that these people are on steroids without actually saying it, so people don't have a counter argument for you that proves you wrong. If you actually think and have evidence that somebody is on gear, that's fine and that's okay. And like I said, if somebody is a fake natty, I'm happy to call them out. I think the vast majority of us in the natural community would be perfectly fine with that too. We want actual elite natural lifters so we can learn the best training methods and get a good idea of how far you can go naturally. That's the entire point of these natural YouTube channels. Yeah, so what I'd say here is just name someone, don't be vague, and don't name drop John Hack and then actually try to back up your claims that the overwhelming majority of vocal natural lifters are on gear. The next point he has, the noble natties meet all the criteria of fake natties. I would say there's one like major difference that I talked about earlier. It's not about us. My channel isn't about me. Jeffrey Verity Schofield's channel isn't about him. Alex Leonidas' channel, not about him. Natural Hypertrophy, it's not about him. It's always community first with these channels. We're just the messenger. We're the person that steps up to actually spread the information because we either know the information or we're good at communicating it, and usually both. So that's why channels like ours actually exist. It's not about us. We communicate. I even put a flannel on. I have an iPhone like 11 that the speaker doesn't even work on. It's like an ugly little basement down here. I'm not trying to like get some massive channel. I'm just trying to spread information to the natural community, and everybody else that's in this community does the same thing. Let's be real with that. It's always community first. We're just physical evidence to back up the best natural bodybuilding methods. So that's why my channel exists, to be the physical proof that the methods that I talk about, that the community talks about, actually work. I do them firsthand so you guys can see, and you guys have all commented on the gains that I've made, even just from last year to this year. People are saying that there's noticeable differences, like major noticeable differences in my physique from last year to this year. That's 1 year of training, from year 6 to year 7, when PED channels tell you you can't make natural gains after year 3. Yet everybody somehow sees all these magical gains from year 6 to year 7 for me. Something's not adding up, right? So I think I'm making my point on my natural bodybuilding methods, and I don't even want to say they're mine necessarily. They're just the methods that I talk about personally. So that's my point there. It's community first, 100% of the time. Next point he has, they know if they lie about being natty, they can create an aura and an image of it and make money off that and take that to the bank. And for anyone that says they don't sell anything, don't they sell coaching? So this is where the video gets a little bit weird. So first off, there's clearly an obsession with money. What's your obsession with money is my question. What's wrong with making money in an ethical way? I can tell you firsthand, if you sell coaching, you're selling a service. You're getting people results. A good coach does that, and people pay you, so you literally can give them that service. That's exactly how that works. That's the market 101. That's very straightforward stuff. We can't just give people things for free. And yeah, like I said, that's just how the market works. That's how monetary exchanges work. We can't just have presents when we walk into a room and give people those gifts. It's not how things work. If someone's paying for a service, that service is being provided, and both people would benefit from that. When online coaches have clients that grow and get better off of that person's teachings, they pay the coach, and then the client keeps getting results, and then everybody's happy. It works pretty well. That's how any service works. So to go a little bit deeper here, what is inherently bad about making money from coaching or making money at all? To me, this sounds like a projection of somebody that takes advantage of people for money. This isn't an accusation whatsoever, but it's just what this mindset sounds like. So first off, I do want to clarify, this is not me accusing you at all of taking advantage of people for money. I don't know much about you personally. To me, all I know is that you're just an online coach, which I respect, and I think it's cool. It's the exact same thing I do. As long as you're a good coach and you're getting people results, you'll be able to coach forever. It's a cool business to have. People are always happy. The messages that I get from clients makes my job incredibly fulfilling. And I've essentially dedicated my entire adult life to being a trainer in some fashion. Ever since I was 17 or 18, as soon as I was old enough to get certified to be a trainer to work in a commercial gym, now that I do it online a little bit, it's something that I love doing, and it's a cool business to have. I just don't see what the issue is with coaching. And if you're going to make these claims that, oh, we're selling coaching and it's this evil business, and we are making money off it, where is it unethical? If our clients are getting results, we'll stay in business and we'll be a successful coach. If our clients aren't getting results, well, you won't be a coach for long. You'll be out of business pretty quick. So the market evens itself out based on how good your service actually is. So I don't see an issue with this at all. The only thing with this mindset is it does remind me of somebody that have a tough time being okay making money. And to me, that sounds like either currently or in the past, you have made money in an unethical way. And I'm not saying that you have this mindset because you've done something like that. I will always give you the benefit of the doubt, but to me, that sounds like somebody that scammed people before and feels that inner guilt, and that seems like some inner guilt speaking through. So again, I'm not accusing you of anything whatsoever, making money in an illegal way or in a scammy or weird, slimy way. But to me, it sounds like that reminds me of somebody that's like involved in an MLM or something like that. So I don't understand that mindset. Making money is a perfectly fine thing as long as you do it ethically. We all have to make money to live. And for example, for myself, I could go get a job and make more money than I do off of the channel and coaching in 2 seconds. I do this because I have a huge passion for natural bodybuilding. This is what I love to do. Like I said, I've dedicated my entire adult life to being the best natural bodybuilder and coach that I possibly can. It's just what I love to do, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. The next point he has is, let's be honest for once in this industry. This is just funny because the Noble Natties are literally the first community to actually be fully transparent and honest about everything. I'm not saying we're always perfect, but I've been in the industry long enough. This is the most honest and most transparent community by far in the online bodybuilding world ever, 100%. The next point he has, they don't have your best interest in mind. Again, I've dedicated my entire adult life to learning and sharing everything I can about natural bodybuilding. Like I said, my channel and the rest of these channels are community oriented. They're community first. So I'm not telling you to like never second guess any Noble Natties or never second guess anyone online, because of course you should. You always should. You should always have your best interest in mind. But at the same time, I think we make it painfully obvious that we are community first, and that's how we are oriented as a channel. We use ourselves as physical evidence to back up our training methods, and the videos are always about training and methods. They're never about us. That's the key, and I think that's the most important point about our channels. And the last point that I've got here is that he says, all we can do as adults is educate others so they can make their own choices. And the way that I'll conclude this video is this is exactly why the Noble Natty community exists. So with that being said, that's all I got for today's video. I will have a video about volume coming next to actually get back to teaching training methods. Hope you guys enjoyed some of my counter arguments to this person's videos. I will see you guys in the next one.